I didn't hear from you for a little while. And then all of a sudden, maybe 75, 80 days later, you've got 100K done in deals. And that's in your first 4 months, right?
Yeah. That's just about right.
Welcome, everybody, to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, America's #1 podcast for new real estate investors, where we know that the most proven path to financial freedom is discounted property. And I am telling you, if I can do this business, so can you. So let's get started. I am your host, Brent Daniels, and it is a pleasure. I'm going to start out with this quote because I think that this is absolutely appropriate for this podcast interview with a professional wholesaler out of San Diego, California, but does business in 6 other markets, has done over $100,000 in his first 4 months. But if there is hope in the future, there's power in the present. And that is from John Maxwell. And I think that is so critical, because if there is no hope, why would we get started in anything? Why would we start our real estate journey? Why would we start to be entrepreneurs? Why would we start our own businesses and go out on a limb and get out there and get away from job security or the average life, right? Without that hope, what do we have? And Alfred Anders says, hope is the foundation of all change. Where there is no hope, there is no action. It is my absolute pleasure to bring to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, Mr. Nathaniel Dwayne from San Diego, California. Say hello to everybody.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Well, I'm excited to have you on here. You have been off the bat. You jumped into the TTP program, and you were like, we talked every day. Boom, boom, boom. Text, calls. And then all of a sudden, boom, it clicked. I didn't hear from you for a little while. And then all of a sudden, maybe 75, 80 days later, you've got 100K done in deals, and that's in your first 4 months, right?
Yeah. That's just about right.
So let me ask you, what was your life like before discovering wholesaling?
So before discovering wholesaling, I've had some previous success doing things with Frank Kern and ClickFunnels with Russell Brunson, things like that. I hit like a true, tremendous success mark at the age of 25. And then I dabbled and dabbled in a lot of different things, man. Everybody used to tell me, though, when I was 25, do real estate, do real estate. You'll crush it. You'll kill it. You're a beast on the phone. And I was always intimidated, of real estate, because I thought you had to go to school, you had to get a license, and then you had to pass more tests, and then you had to show people homes. And I just was uneducated, I didn't graduate high school. I don't have a diploma. I don't have a GED. I don't have nothing, And so I was intimidated by the thought of real estate. And so I used to always just push it away, nah, that's not for me. I'm gonna stay over here. I'm gonna stay in my lane. So, I've had tremendous success in doing a lot of different things in those online space. And then, so that's kind of what my life was before this.
Incredible. So you didn't finish high school. What were you doing during this time between then and now? And have you always been an entrepreneur?
Man, I like to say I've been an entrepreneur, right? Now, the things that I did may not have been entrepreneur-like, but in my eyes, they were entrepreneur-like growing up. So from the age of 17 to the age of 23, I just joined so many different multi-level marketing companies. I think I started off, my first company was ACN, was the video phones. And then I went to Amway. I went to Secret. I did Legal Shield. Just dabbled and dabbled, man, in so many different multi-level marketing companies. The most money I ever made was $13.25. So yeah, from 17 to 23, I was just joining different companies and trying different things.
What did you learn from that? What if you were to look back on it now? I mean, obviously when you're in the middle of this, you're like, oh, I got to make money. I got to produce. I've got to be able to be successful. And you look back at it now. What did you learn from that?
You can't quit where you're called to win. That's the number one thing that I look at. For the longest time, I would blame it on my upline. I don't know if you did multi-level marketing, but I would always blame it on my upline. I would blame it on the people I would bring in. Is their fault. They're not recruiting nobody. I always had an excuse for why I didn't win or why I didn't succeed. But one thing that happened was no matter how many times I quit, I would always start again and join something different. And so as I look back, I learned that, man, no matter how long you go at something, you are addicted to the hustle of it. And you can't quit where you're called to win. And so no matter where you try to detour and go off to, you're going to find yourself remotely coming right back to it and trying it again. Maybe it's with a different person or a different outcome, but it's going to be the same thing over and over again. And so this thing that we call entrepreneurship, I've been trying since I was 17 years old. And I love it. And as I look back, I realized that it was never no one else's fault. It was my own fault, right? And just lack of discipline.
Yeah, I love that. You can't quit if you're called to win. I mean, absolutely incredible. So with all that, what inspires you? What makes you inspired to be your best self? You know what I mean? Like, what is that part of you, that you can think about? I mean, you had talked about never quitting. You're talking about the perseverance. You're talking about basically being there on your own the whole time. What is that? What inspires you to do that? Why not just get a job, man? You know what I mean? Why not just work for somebody else?
Okay. Well, man, I'm a very spiritual person, so I can only be real with myself. I've never had a job longer than 6 months. When I was at the age of 22, 23, going into 23, I think that was the longest I've been in a job. It was like 5 months, and I was sitting inside my cubicle, which is kind of crazy because I was working for Dan Merrill, and I guess he was on the TV show Flip This House or whatever, and I was working in the call center, and what we did was we booked people to go to the seminar.
Yeah.
But I didn't know about wholesaling. I didn't know about flipping, fixing. I was just working the job, making $10 an hour, booking people to go to a seminar, right? And so I never really knew what I was a part of. But I was sitting in my cubicle, like I was saying, and I was like, I asked God, I said, is this all you have for me? Like, I know I wasn't born to just be taking phone calls for somebody I don't ever see, somebody who doesn't, just pays me and he's probably making all this money. Granted, I know what he does now, so I know he's making a lot of money, but I sat there and I asked God like to give me a sign, and then literally I was on Facebook in my cubicle, and then this post came up and said, make money on Facebook since you're on it all day anyway. And from there, like my life just began a whole nother thing. So what keeps me inspired and why I don't have another job is I know that I'm built to help people. And so I know that there are certain people in life that are built to be the help, right? But I know that I'm called to lead. And wherever I go, whatever I try, I end up leading. I end up helping. I end up like it helps me to know that I'm helping somebody, right? I feel more valid in life. And so it's all purpose at the end of the day for me. Like I try to duck the whole leadership stuff. I try to duck being the leader and sit in the back and not try to lead and not try to do that. But it's not fulfilling, right?
Right.
No matter how many times you try to go to the back, you get pushed right to the front again. And that's exactly, where I'm at. Even with the whole wholesaling thing, like I was like, hey, I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna teach nobody now. I'm just gonna chill, do real estate. And I got a whole office of people in here who's wholesaling. We got a guy like in here who just, landed his first deal. And his closing is on Friday, $5,000, 21 years old, and he didn't pay me. He didn't do nothing. Like I just helped him, and regardless of what I try to run from, I end up right back here helping again.
That's the leadership part. 100%. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. At some point, that beach ball is going to pop up out. I mean, it just is. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And it's funny because as you get going in this business and you're learning and you're catching and you're like, okay, so I call them, I put it under contract, I sell that contract, got it, okay, and lead follow-up, got it, okay, and build your cash buyer database, got it, okay. I mean, you were picking it up so fast. And now you're at the point where you're able to like break it down for all the people in your office, people on this podcast. I mean, it's that fast that it happens when you have that calling. Absolutely. I love that. So what markets, let's get to the wholesaling. because I think that you're just an incredible inspiration. Let's get to the wholesaling side of it, and let's get to some tactics. So what markets are you in? And do you have one that you're more heavy in, or are you kind of spread across all of them?
So I'm not in California at all. And that was some great advice that came from Brent on our first call.
Yep.
So I stayed away. I'm a big fan of, if you look up to somebody, listen to what they do, right? And remodel. So you told me stay away, so I didn't do California. I am in the Ohio market. I'm in Tampa, Florida. I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm in New Jersey. And I'm missing one more. I'm in Baltimore. I think that's the last one.
Okay. Yep. Atlanta and Baltimore, actually.
Mm-hmm. Transition. So we transitioned from Atlanta to Baltimore.
So weren't you afraid to go into these markets that you don't go to every day and don't know the comparables or the values? Or how do you handle that? I mean, you've only been in it 4 months. How do you go into 7 different markets and feel comfortable being able to find opportunities, one, but to convert them to actual closed deals?
I think it's I gotta give it to Brent for this one, because I was on the phone and Brent gave me some statistics, some numbers on how many offers and numbers it takes to land your deal. And so I'm a very numbers guy, right? And so I'm also one of those people, either we're gonna run, we're gonna jog, or we're gonna walk. Whoever's running is gonna get to the destination faster. Whoever's jogging is contemplating if they should run or if they should walk. So they're in between. Whoever's walking is taking their time. So me, I rather just fail quickly. Mm-hmm. And I just rather, I rather go for it at the end of the day. So when I did my first ever deal, this is when I text you and I sent you the pictures and you was like, hey, this is what it looks like for the rehab. And everybody around me was telling me it wasn't a deal, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember this. And we got on the phone and he was like, look, there's many times when people tell me it's not a deal. And I say, send it out anyway. And then they get back and we sell it. And then, so you gave me like the ultimate faith, on that. I was like, man, figure what everybody's saying. I'm about to just send this deal out. Yeah. And I found a buyer like literally one day before inspection period was over. Mm-hmm. And the buyer was like, hey, I really, really want it. I'll give you this offer. So the moment I took what you said, and which was like, just put it out there and see what the market says. Because everyone's going to have an opinion, but you never know what at the end of the day what someone's going to say until you do it. Yeah. So there, I found a buyer, and once I found a buyer and it closed, I got addicted to that feeling of posting something virtually and not being there. So now I was like, my first market was Memphis, which was my first deal. From there, I was like, I wonder how it would be if I went to Tampa, or how I went to Ohio, or how I went here. And then from there, I just wanted to just scale. And luckily, it worked out for me. Yeah. And I would advise for somebody else, not to follow that unless you financially ready for that, because it was a big financial commitment at the end of the day, Yeah. Luckily, it worked out for me. I love it. I love every bit of it now. But if it wasn't for Brent, because I was feeling defeated. On that deal. And because everybody was telling me, ain't nobody going to buy it. It's too high. Buyers are saying this and this. And Brent was like, put it out. Yeah. Put it there and see what happens.
Well, listen, I've been doing this for 16 years, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been doing this since 2004. So there's instincts about certain deals. And when you were giving me the breakdown, you were telling me where it's at, you were telling me the situation and the condition, it just made sense that there was something to make on that deal. And even if it took you longer to sell that, somebody was going to buy that. You know what I mean? And that doesn't always happen. But when you have something that is at the discount that you got it at, you're going to, more likely than not, you're going to be able to do that. And plus, a lot of buyers, a lot of people around, they're wanting to hit home runs on every single deal. They want it to be a 40K or 50K spread because they don't have the confidence to negotiate with cash buyers. They don't have the confidence to throw it out there and answer questions about the property, or just tell them, hey, listen, this is the price. That makes sense to me. If you want it, take it. If not, it's fine. You know what I mean? And so it's just putting all that into you, pouring that into you, and you did it, and you took advantage. You got paid, and now you're off and running. Now you've done what? 11 deals, or you're 11, I think it was, and now you've got a ton pending. You've got people in there that are working. I mean, Look at you. You're off and running, man.
Yeah, man, it's an incredible feeling.
And by the way, how long did it take to get that first deal?
30 days.
Right.
Like a little bit less than like 30. Like,
yep.
yeah, like this month.
Yep. But how much effort, how many calls, how many conversations, how many leads did you have to get, you know?
I lost 7 contracts before that one.
Yep.
So I locked up 7 that didn't work out, and then the 8th one did.
Yeah, it's because you locked up everything.
Yeah, locking up everything you can think of. And I didn't know my numbers. I didn't know a lot, and I was just locking it all up and then trying to come back, renegotiate, and it didn't work out. And, we lost 7 deals, and then on the 8th one, that one panned out.
Yeah, but now. You know the prices now, right? I mean, until you get into the thick of things, a lot of people stop. They have that invisible barrier that stops them from putting a property under contract if they're just not 100% sure. But when you put it out and you get feedback from your cash buyers, now all of a sudden you know what they're willing to buy. So just go target the areas that they want to buy and just target the prices that they want to buy it. And now you've got it made and you don't have to worry about selling the deal or disposition. All you have to worry about is lead generation and conversion, right? There's only 3 parts to this business: lead generation, conversion, and exit strategy. If you have the exit strategy all figured out, all you got to do is get the leads, be proactive, be consistent, build up that pipeline, and then just understand, pre-qualify them so that you're working with people that'll actually do business with you. And now you've converted it, and now you're off and running, which you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So what does it look like now? What is talk to me about your team. How big's your team? What's your process? Talk to me about that.
Man, so in-house, I have So I gotta give this a shout out to Brent again. We was on a phone call and I asked Brent, what does your operation look like?
Yep.
I'm a firm believer in reduplicate who you want to be like. And so I don't know if Brent remember my first couple calls, I asked him, what do you have that I need to duplicate? And then Brent was always like, look, man, you ain't gotta pay me nothing extra. I got you. Let's break it down.
Yep.
Now I have an assistant who has an office next to me. She handles all contract deals, all closings, all paperwork, pretty much. And
like a transaction manager.
Yeah, she's like a
transaction coordinator. Yeah,
pretty much in a sense. We have 3 acquisitions inside. We have 1 dispo that works in house, and then virtual assistant wise, we have about 9 different callers.
And these are overseas?
Yeah, they're all overseas callers.
Got it. And in those, the 9 that you have calling, do you have them, this is an interesting thing that I've been asking a lot of successful wholesalers is, what dialer are you using? Are you using the Mojo or are you using something else? Because you have 9 and they're probably going full time, right?
Yeah, so I use call tools.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be call tools. Really, a lot of people like using that. You can really open up the amount of lines. I never suggest that you use more than 3 because you're going to just chew through so much data and you have to beat up that list and beat up that list. But if you have enough horsepower, you'll get it out of there, but your contact rate will be low and your leads will kind of go up and down when you put in new, fresh lists. But what's the top list that you like? What do you like going after?
Man, I like tire landlords.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite list. I did like tax delinquent, but I always ended up in an area where people didn't want to buy. So,
isn't that crazy? Yeah.
So I like high equity, tire landlord, vacant, pretty much. Those are like my favorites that we've had like the most success off of. We've had some deals that came from like tax delinquent, but they're they're easy to lock up. But they're very hard to buy. I mean, they're very hard.
Let me just break that down for everybody watching and listening. So with tax delinquent, what Nathaniel's talking about here is a lot of times people will own properties free and clear. And when you own them free and clear, the bank, you obviously don't have a mortgage on it. What the mortgage companies do to protect their interest is they will take an escrow account to pay for your insurance and your property taxes to make sure that you don't default on either one of those for obvious reasons. And if you don't have that mortgage paying that and you have to pay it yourself because you own these things free and clear, a lot of these properties that pop up as default are way out on the outskirts. People don't care about it. They don't mind that they're getting penalties. They forget about it. It's typically not the house that they live in. Sometimes it is, but for the most part, it's pretty out there, really run down properties that there's just not a lot of action. There's not a lot of people looking to buy those properties. So tax default's a little bit tricky. If you're going to do it, I would definitely take Nathaniel's advice here and either do it by city or by zip code that you know that people are living in, and go after those and see what's going on in that situation, because most of the time they're owned free and clear, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Definitely agree.
So it's just you, your transaction coordinator, and 9 callers.
Yeah, and then I have in-house, we have 4 acquisitions.
Got it.
So
commission only?
Yeah, commission only.
Got it. And so they're getting all these leads in. So they're just hitting the phones every day?
Mm-hmm. So they're making 20% per deal.
Okay.
And then, yeah, they're just hustling. We got a 17-year-old kid in here who's going crazy.
Are they watching you right now? Are
they
listening to you right now?
Yeah, kind of. Well, they're working a deal. Someone just locked up a deal right now. I think Esther did.
Live on the podcast. Esther, there you go. So, well, let's break down a deal. Let's talk about a deal. Let's talk about how you got it. What was the lead generation? What was the list? Let's break all this stuff down and really get into the core of this deal. Okay, so go ahead.
So I think one of my deals where I learned a lot. I think it had a life lesson. The deal started off good. I was going to net 50,000 on this deal. I was supposed to net 50,000 on this deal. Me and the seller became super cool, super close. We were talking every day. It even got to a point where the seller found out, I was wholesaling the deal, and was fine with that because, he wanted to move out. He was moving to Florida.
Yeah.
Son's going to college. So he bought this house as a pre-foreclosure, but he fixed it up. He had put 50,000 into the kitchen. He did all these things. So he was going to put an MLS. So he's like, yo, you can communicate with the realtor that I bought the house from, and y'all could put it on the market together. And I was like, ooh, so I'm hype, excited. And I didn't know how I could get paid, by putting it on the market with a realtor. So I didn't know how that part works. So shouts out to Max Fish, because he told me basically what happened was he basically took out a mortgage with me on it. So for that way I could get paid through the title. So we put it on the market at $385.
Okay.
We had a buyer come in at $375. I had it locked up at $290. So we had a buyer come in at $374, sorry. And I had it locked up at $290. And the buyer, basically was going to use a conventional loan. He was already pre-approved and, all those things. So over the weekend, the buyer ghosted.
Mm-hmm.
We got the things in. The realtor's putting pressure on me. Like, you got to sign this. We got to get the buyers. We got to get the things signed. We got to get to the attorneys. So then his attorney on Monday, after the buyer ghosted, changes the whole deal. So he wants 100% reliable for anything wrong in the house, not buying the house in as-is condition. He wanted everything on the property just different. And he wanted no responsibility, so making it the seller full responsible for anything. And had to get appraised. He wanted to get appraised twice.
Yeah.
It was a lot of stuff. And so we came to terms where the seller will be responsible for 30% of the property. So when that happens, now the buyer ghosts us again. And so then the seller now goes off on the buyer.
Yeah.
And so then the seller's attorney, he gets mad. And so then the two attorneys get into it. Long story short, we end up losing the deal.
Mm.
And so now the stress is on, and it's like, yo, we got to sell this property in 14 days or 21 days. And I'm like, oh my God. So I pulled
but the seller stayed with you guys.
The seller stayed with us.
Okay. So how did you, just real quick, I know you're flowing here, but how you have a buyer that they say they're going to buy a cash, but no, they're going to buy it with a mortgage. And then they want to get appraisals, and then they want to have some repairs done. And then that cancels, right? What do you say to the seller at that point? You're just like, hey, listen, this buyer wasn't great. It was a big pain. Don't worry, we'll find something better.
No, so he was a part of the whole process. And so the seller is watching everything happen with us. And
he knows how much you're making?
Yeah, he knows how much I'm making. So we done paid an attorney to draft up the mortgage.
Yeah.
He paid $1,000 to get the mortgage draft up.
Yeah.
To get it, they're going to notarize it, send it in. So he knows I'm making 50. He was going to walk away with 90. And everything was fine. Then the whole thing happened with the buyer. So then the buyer backs out. And now we're like, oh man, I'm stressed out. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I already spent I think I spent close to $1,000 in skip tracing cash buyers.
Yep.
So he gives me 2 more zip codes. He's like, maybe you can find a cash buyer here and here. So I'll spend another $1,000. So now I'm like 2,000 in on looking for a cash buyer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sending people to the house. And so remember, the first buyer was at 374. So now everybody that's coming to the house is offering 240, 260. And so I'm like, why are y'all offering so low? And one buyer, and so one buyer goes, well, this was on the market. And now we're wondering why it didn't sell. So now we think something's wrong with the house.
Yep.
Nah, nothing's wrong with the house. They're like, well, listen, it was under contract on the MLS, but now you're telling me it didn't sell. So now our biggest concern is, did something happen in inspection? So I'm like, oh my God, I've never had to deal with this before. And so now I guess, because it was on MLS, it was on the contract and didn't sell, now the perspective of it just looks wrong, like something's wrong with the property. So we get I think we sent at least over 25 buyers. This is during like COVID hot season, because this is in New Jersey. So people coming over with masks, only 2 people can be in the house at a time. So the seller has to come outside and his dad has to be outside. We sent over 25 different buyers. And I'm like, dude, we're not about to get $300,000 or nothing for this property. And we end up like literally a week before these 2 guys come over and they say, hey, we can close on this property quick. We have a title company. We'll pay cash. We'll give you a check right now of a deposit of $25,000 EMD that you can have, and you can mail it into the title company. So we end up selling the property at $285. We end up negotiating. I end up walking away.
Because you originally had it at $290.
Yeah.
You sold it at $285, so you had to go back to the seller.
And I sold it. I got it back on the contract at $262.
$262.
So
what did you say to him? What did you say to the seller to get them to get him to reduce?
I said, hey man, listen, we made a big mistake, with this buyer that we had. We could have made a lot of money on this deal, but I think the impatience in certain things that were done kind of affected the deal, and now that we've put this on the market and it didn't sell, now everybody has questions, and because of that, it's a messed up situation, and at this point you got to go to Florida. I've put in a lot of sweat and equity into this deal. We both got to take what we can get, and so he agreed. So we agreed to 262. I think he walked away with 30,000. This is the other bad part. When it got to the closing table, the buyers didn't want to pay closing.
Right.
So now they were trying to rediscount. So I ended up out of my own profit coming out of pocket like $1,000 in some closing, and I walked away with 19.5 on the deal instead of 50.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how much did you net?
19.5, 19,500.
Hey, listen, $19,500. People have to work a lot of the year to make that. They really do. You made that. Now it's not the 50, but you're getting. I mean, you're getting these big deals in your pipeline. You're going to hit those massive deals. They're going to come, but that's still, I mean, an incredible story. I mean, you went through it all. I mean, talk about perseverance there. Talking about sticking to it and making sure that you squeeze everything you can out of every deal. I mean, that's incredible, man. That's really incredible. So
it definitely was a learning curve for a lot. I learned a lot. I learned about the seller transfer tax. I learned about New Jersey's laws that they have. it definitely was. I take it as a big lesson. And I'm glad because now I'm prepared. I'm prepared for whenever anything like that comes my way again.
Yep. Yep. I love it. I love it. That is, oh man, that's incredible. So, I mean, what is it? Do you have a big vision in mind? Are you one of those guys that wants to own a lot of real estate and a lot of units? Are you somebody that wants to develop, or do you want to be a bank and a hard money lender or a private money lender? Like, do you have like a goal in mind that you're building towards as you're sourcing these deals?
Yeah, definitely. My goal, I've always had this goal. I want to own 100 doors. I want a big apartment complex. For Christmas, I'm actually working on buying like my first multi-unit or sub-2 or something. Like that's my goal for Christmas.
I love it.
At first, it was like earlier this year, it was going to be to buy a new Rolls Royce or buy a Rolls Royce. It switched to, I want a multi-unit, literally. And then, my mom, obviously, my mom's on 10 different medications. She's had 2 heart attacks. So next year, going towards the end of this year, I want to put like 5 properties, underneath her where she can get passive income every month, as well. So right now I'm just really I gotta say, man, real estate has changed my mindset a lot. I was like the flashy person and, the whole internet marketing type of look and let me get on the yachts and the cars. And now down to earth, I just want to own some properties and, get that passive income every single month. Land more deals, own more properties, man. And I gotta give a lot of my honor to Brent, to you, because literally your training, your video made me go all in, And when I talked to, I don't know the guy's name on the phone no more, but I think he's out of Utah, he's a sales rep.
Yep.
When I got on the phone with him, I sold myself on the program. And I was just like, sign me up. When can I talk to Brent? When can I talk to Brent on the phone? When can I talk to Brent? And
they sent me your name and they're like, hey, you need to call him now or he's going to just find your number somewhere. I was like, yeah, that's my type of guy. That's incredible. Well, thank you. And listen, you do all the hard work. You know what I mean? Without you taking action, without you setting it all up, without you having the perseverance, none of it happens. It goes back to that hope. The hope is the foundation of all change. Where there's no hope, there's no action, right? And that's the absolute truth. And you had that hope and you knew you had that belief that you could do this. This isn't positive thinking. This is positive belief, right? He has positive belief because he takes action. The action leads to results. The results lead to more beliefs. And that's what it is. And that's what's incredible. And I think you hit it right on the head. Listen, when you make money, you have 2 options. You can spend it or invest it. Mm-hmm. What do you want to do? That's it. You can spend it or invest it. That's the 2 sides. What about saving? That's investing. What about this and that? It's either you're spending it or you're investing it. What do you want to do with your life? How do you want your life to look? That's the biggest thing. So how do people get a hold of you? You're going to inspire a ton of people with this interview. How do people get a hold of you? Do you want them to go to your Instagram? Do you want them to go to an email? Do you want them to go to where do you want them to go?
Hit me up on Facebook, Nathaniel Dwayne. I'm all here for whatever,
Will you spell your name, your last name?
Dewayne.
Perfect. Awesome. So just on Facebook, reach out, DM you. And certainly, guys, if you're in any of those markets that Nathaniel referenced that he's in, make sure you reach out to him, especially if you have a deal, if you need some help selling it, or if you need some help to joint venture on something. Definitely reach out to him, squad up with him. This is going to be one of the biggest guys in our industry, my prediction. And he's just getting started, just getting warmed up. He's 120 days into it and almost making $1,000 a day. And that's what I'm talking about. That's absolutely exciting, and I love it. So in parting, if you were, give some advice to a smart, driven person that's getting into or considering getting into wholesaling.
Man, go in with no fear, right? So there ain't nothing to it but to do it. And as simple as that sounds, as cliche as it sounds, that is the truth. And us as entrepreneurs, when we first get into things, our body tells us to be over analytical, right? And I have a saying that I always tell people at my events, everywhere I go: people that make mistakes make money. Mm-hmm. I locked up 7 wrong contracts and then on the eighth work, right?
Yep.
That you learn from mistakes is productivity. Is you doing something, right? So if you're sitting outside and you're new to this and you're walking into it like you're just watching and you're educated, just go for it.
Yep.
Go for it. Success loves speed. You
Yep.
know, and the faster you go, the faster you're going to get to where you need to get to. When I invested with Brent, I was hitting Brent's phone up every single day, like he told you.
Yeah.
Brent played a big part of my life, and Max played a big part of my life. And Brent connected me to Max Fish, who gave me the call team that helped start everything for me.
Callingreps.com, people. Listen, callingreps.com. Listen, it's working. TTP. Use the TTP. You get a discount. Max will hook you up if you use TTP. Yep.
Were the giants in my life that helped me get over the hill. And so for me, I like to say, just go for it, right? You never know, right? You never know who you're going to call. You never know what that call may be like. It may be a letdown. It may be a lesson learned call where they're just very, very knowledgeable and they know what they're talking about and they're going to school you. Or it may be a call where it's going to challenge you, And so you just never know what's going to happen until you pick up that phone. We landed a deal today where it was a laydown. The dude wants $12,000 for the property, right? Has an ARV of 149. He's already done most of the fix up, but he just needs the money because he's about to invest into a restaurant. Mm-hmm. So time to put it on the market and wait for a sale, right? And so we locked it up at 12,000. Easily, it'll sell at 30, 35. But you just never know when you're coming in. When you look at the notes, it's like, yo, he put 20 grand into it. Oh, it's worth this. And as you think that he's going to ask a high number, he says, hey, give me 12,000. Can you close quickly because I need to put this money into something. So you just never know, right? So just go into every call excited and, just know that you're paid for this.
If you're going to be proactive, you're going to win. I mean, you said it just in a different way. This will work if you do. It's simple. This will work if you do. So wonderful. Guys, reach out to Nathaniel. Make sure that you tell him that you heard this. Give him some love. And certainly if you're in any of those markets, reach out to him. And if you're in San Diego, reach out to him. So thank you so much. I mean, just an incredible inspiration. You're just getting warmed up. And I'm excited to see what the next 12 months looks like. And for everybody out there, if you are interested in joining the most proactive group in real estate investing, it is the TTP family. Go to wholesalinginc.com/TTP. That's wholesalinginc.com/TTP. Scroll down, check out what the program's about. If it feels good in your gut, sign up for a call. It'll either be with me or my right-hand guy, and we look forward to that. So thank you, Nathaniel. That was absolutely incredible. Thank you for everybody out there watching and listening. If you can comment down below, if you're watching this on the Brent Daniels YouTube channel, give Nathaniel some love. He's brought a lot of inspiration on this show, on this podcast. And I really appreciate it. I really do. So until next time, guys, I always encourage you to talk to people. See ya. Love you.
All right, guys.